for the next
Wow,
scene.
amazing. Thanks, Ashwini. That's fascinating. So in this next scene, what's the carbon footprint of those virtual shoes? We will be exploring the issue of sustainability and how digital fashion can serve as a potential solution to the industry's growing environmental problem. It's no secret the negative impact fashion is having on our planet. According to the World Bank, it's responsible for 10% of annual global carbon emissions, more than all international flights and maritime shipping combined. In response to this challenge, some designers have been reimagining their approach, no longer seeing the conventional methods they once followed as acceptable, and instead shifting their focus towards digital technologies to bring their collections to life. With that being said, my first question is for you, Kerry. What makes digital fashion sustainable, and how are you addressing this issue at the Fabricant? I saw on your website that you produced a sustainability report in partnership with Imperial College of London. Can you tell us more about this and what you discovered?
Yeah, cool. Thanks for the question. I think the main discovery is that digital fashion production is 3% of physical fashion production. Mainly, there's no physical sampling, there's no physical waste. However, where the waste comes from is from the energy sources that we use, where we store our data, how we store our data. Those are kind of the main big things. And we always say that data is the pollution of the future. So we're also trying to figure out how can we be more sustainable by having better energy sources. So it is kind of in an immature stage at this point, where we're really just trying to take the first steps towards becoming as carbon neutral as possible. You're welcome to download the report. It's very extended. There's a lot of information, but we've also condensed that information into bite-sized bits on the website itself. So I think that's the best place to look for all the information. And as you mentioned as well, DressX has created a sustainability report as well, and they came with a similar type of results. So I think it's pretty accurate to say that digital fashion is 3% of physical fashion.
Mm-hmm. And was there anything in particular that surprised you about the findings you gathered from that report?
Well, I would say the most surprising data that I've always seen is like just seeing how much waste there actually comes from physical fashion production, how much water is being used for something like a t-shirt or a pair of jeans. It just seems ridiculous, and I just don't have enough of an overview of truly understand the processes of why a t-shirt needs thousands of liters of water to be produced. But that's probably having to look into cotton production. Same thing with jeans, it's even more crazy. So that's why I believe digital is a viable solution from many different angles. However, if we're going to keep making clothing, if there's still an overproduction of clothing and that industry is still growing, and even though we're creating more sustainable materials and more sustainable practices, it's still not going to basically solve the end problem. And that's why I believe that digital fashion is actually the biggest solution. And my main passion is to actually create a business model where fashion brands can start seeing value in selling digital only clothing. Because I believe that every single physical item that we reduce in this world is already a big win. And this is how we're actually working with brands, trying to help them in sampling digitally. So no physical samples need, but creating thousands and thousands of samples in a digital only way is already a big solution. And one of our brands, can't say who yet, but they did extensive research on how much water and electricity they saved. I can't give those numbers because they want to release that themselves, but there's very soon, some interesting data coming from that of how many swimming pools of water we saved and how many homes of electricity we saved just by doing one season, and those numbers are drastic.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kerry. I'm looking forward to finding out that information, how many swimming pools were saved. Okay, so Juliane, with the development and application of new technologies being a main interest of yours and central to your work, what role do you think digital fashion can play in moving towards a more environmentally friendly sector?
Well, I think it can play a huge role because
we know so much from the physical fashion, from the old traditional fashion industry. You know, we know the impact, we know what's happening, and still we didn't manage to really implement great changes. And I think with anything new that's being developed, you know, we can really learn from the mistakes being made within the traditional fashion industry, and with the tools or the new tools that are available, really implement them from the very beginning in order to make them useful and implement them properly. Carrie mentioned already the CO2 consumption, the water consumption, and all of that. But I think we also, with anything new, have to watch that so-called rebound effect that you have with anything new that you implement. And saying that, you know, if you change something here, it has an effect at another area or at another corner. So, and there's still CO2 consumption, there's still some aspects, and even it's not environmentally, but I think we really have to have a big focus on social impacts as well, and social sustainability. And I think we don't know anything from social media as such yet either, but it's like about addiction, is about self-esteem, and I think it has the potential, if done right, to do really amazing positive effect as well. And it can be, like Damara said already, it can be democratizing, it can be generative, it can be healing, it can be really do things that you can't do in a physical space. So in that sense, I see a huge potential. And I mean, we urgently need more regulations and incentive for traditional fashion to become more sustainable without greenwashing. And I think if we can learn from the mistakes and implement them from the very beginning with the right tools, I think it's fantastic. And again, try to avoid greenwashing, even if it's digital or analog, you know.
Wow,
and I also see a huge potential, what Dara said as well, about the going beyond a product. You know, what about services? What about on demand? What about experiences? So I think that in itself, I think, has a really huge potential as well. And you can go more wild in digital than in physical. You know, you can reach people differently. So I think it's exciting. Yes.
Yeah, amazing. So from what you said there, as well as having benefits to the environment, there's also the social side as well, which is it's a perspective that I not come across before. So thank you so much for sharing that, Juliane. Amazing. So my next question is, well, one area I can see digital fashion certainly making a difference is on social media. And I came across a statistic saying that 1 in 10 shoppers admitted to buying clothes for the purpose of posing in them for photos to be posted on Instagram. Where do you see digital fashion having the biggest impact, Kerry?
So absolutely, that's one of the main areas of focus of where somebody like DressX and a lot of the other companies who are doing digital dressing of photos are focusing on, because that amount of returns is a massive issue that brands are experiencing because of that trend. Hashtag outfit of the day is like the most popular trend of kids basically ordering thousands of euros worth of clothing just for that one Instagram picture. Now, I think the quickest win there is having done that digitally, and I think it was Carling's campaign in 2018 that really proved that this trend was massive, and ever since then, a company like DressX, who I'm a big fan of, that they're really focusing on that, because right now it's manual labor to be able to do that. It's not a viable business model to really make it scalable and make a lot of money from dressing people's images. But in the future, it will be, I believe. It's just about creating the scalable experience that will allow everybody to wear digital clothing. And I think once these experiences get better, that's when the brands are going to start jumping into space as well. And they will need those digital assets. So it's something that I mentioned earlier on.
Yeah.
It's like, how do we create that business model that is more viable and more scalable than the current one? And I think the events industry is showing right now. Let's use the example of Travis Scott and Fortnite, where Travis Scott had something like 12 million people attending his 16-minute concert. Now, that's never possible in the physical life. And I think every single artist realizes this, that they need to be in the virtual space, because that's where they scale their audience. And that's where they're capable of actually, making new revenue streams from the comfort of their home. Artists don't have to go traveling around the world anymore to create experiences and connecting to their audiences. And I believe this will be the same thing for fashion. You know, as long as, you know, even let's say introverted people like myself who come from a 3D design background, who never felt like a true fashionista, now I have an opportunity to be a fashionista, because what the virtual space offers me is a safe space where I can, you know, very comfortably in my own private setting, just try on different identities and try on crazy clothing that I would never dare to wear out on the streets, yet alone even try on in a store. So I think that's the true opportunity, and where we see a lot of our competitors moving is basically that space of trying to create this new experience. And I always call it, you know, trying to replace the current retail experience. Let's make the digital retail experience more engaging and more exciting than the current retail experience. And I think that's when we're really going to start making moves with digital fashion.
Amazing. And that leads me nicely onto my final question, which is, can we expect to see more brands start to embrace digital fashion as a way to reach their sustainability goals and meet the needs of their younger audiences, such as Gen Z, who we know are preferring to invest in these more environmentally sound products? So, Kerry, do you have anything to say on that? And also coming over to you, Juliane.
Yeah, I mean, I think the obvious answer is that yes, these brands are definitely eyeballing that space. However, before they're going to make that full jump, they, you know, it's the number one question is like, what is my ROI, my return of investment? How do I ensure that I'm making enough money by making that shift? Because now currently the business model is so heavily focused on selling a physical product, and that's what's still happening. For the people who have seen the Balenciaga video game experience, I thought it was great. However, it's just a one-off again. You know, it's a new way of presenting fashion, and it's super exciting. I was super engaged for about 3 minutes, but I did not end up coming back. You know, so how do we again create this experience that, you know, has this word stickiness to it? You know, that where people want to come back, where they want to keep experiencing. And ever since Balenciaga did that, I think every single brand started eyeballing that space as well. You know, it's very like the experiences that I hear the most is really Fortnite, Travis Scott, Fortnite Nike, League of Legends, and Louis Vuitton. You know, like we keep talking about the same experiences. And honestly, I think in 2021 we're going to start seeing way more of those. However, the beginning point for a brand, it starts with having those digital assets, having those collections and garments fully digitized. And that's a skill set they don't have internally at the moment. And I think that before they can truly move into digital space, they actually need to have a department who's constantly designing and creating those collections that are fully digital.
Amazing. Thanks, Kerry. And Juliane, what do you think about brands embracing digital fashion in the future? Can you see them doing that and reaching?
Yes, I do, and I think it's definitely money talks in that case. And I think as soon as they understand the huge financial potential of digital fashion, I think they will jump into it. But I think one obstacle is the generation of decision makers, because I don't think they understand digital fashion or concepts of digital fashion yet. And I think all of them should get some consultation of their teenage sons and daughters about gaming and, you know, skins and things like that. So I think it will need a little bit of time, but I think eventually money will talk. And I agree with Kerry, it's the skill sets that are not there yet. And I think it's a certain communication as well, because you have the gamers, you have the business people, you have the creatives, and everyone speaks such a different language. And I think it just needs a bit of time to adapt and learn each other's language. Or you need events like this, or you need people who are kind of with one foot in each area, and they can be some sort of a translator, because I think it's a cultural thing as well, and that needs a bit of time to overcome that.
And is that something you see what you're doing with the Responsive Fashion Institute, is bridging that gap between businesses and this medium?
Yes, in a way. I mean, we again, it's all happening so fast. So we you know, we learning, we adapting, we consulting, and we prototyping, and yes, but yes, I do see a potential, and I think that's one of the reasons why I founded the institute as well, because I think it's one thing to consult and make a business out of it, but I think it's another one to address certain issues. And I think I'm a businesswoman, but also I'm an activist as well, and I think in that sense it's very necessary to do things and change things and make more sense into it, even if it's digital or analog. For me, it's important that it makes sense rather than looks good. I mean, looking good is good as well, but I want some purpose.
No, definitely, and I think that's is what will make us come back to it. Like with Kerry saying these experiences, some of these experiences he's had, he tries it once and then that's it. It doesn't come back to it. So yeah, purpose being the key there. All right, amazing guys. I could speak to you for a lot longer, but I'm conscious we've got more scenes to go through. So thank you so much. And now over to you, Mathilde and Scarlett.